Hello crafters, it's Crafty Aunt T, and I just wanted to give you a couple of hints. I've had some questions about the mask that we are making, and it's been I've been a little slow. You may already have your answers, but I wanted to give you just some tips and tricks for making your mask, especially for beginners. Okay? One of the questions I got was about the fabric. Always pre-wash your fabric. This is not just for the mask, this is for everything. If you go ahead and pre-wash it, you'll remove the sizing that they've coated on there, you'll remove any germs that might be on there, and you will go ahead and shrink it. So what I'm doing with my cotton fabric is I'm washing it in hot water and I'm drying it on high, so it's hopefully as shrunken as it's going to be. What else? The second question I had was about thread tension. And So School of London has a great picture of that, so I'll put the graphic up. But I tried to make a couple of samples. And this fabric was black, so I had to turn it over. So this is the top thread, but with a tension that is too tight, so a higher number, you're going to have these stitches from the bottom. You can see the thread coming up from the bottom, and the top thread just looks almost like a straight line. If your upper thread is too loose, then it's going to be your bottom thread that looks straight, almost straight, and you can see some of the top threads showing where they're looping down. So I'll put that graphic up so that it makes it more clear. On mine, I set it on 4, and that is the perfect stitch length. But this is going to change, because as you're sewing on just 2 thin pieces of cotton, then you're sewing with the interfacing. And if you're using bias tape or you're making your own bias tape, then you're sewing, on the ends you're even sewing through 4 layers. So of course it's going to change. That's normal. You just have to think about these things and stop and adjust your tension, and you'll get to know your machine. It'll be a lot easier. The wire. Oh, I didn't bring my wire in here. Some people were annoyed with the wire, and I think they were making a channel to put it in. But look, I'm seeing people, and this is just a general statement, I'm not aiming this at anyone. I get in trouble for saying things. But on the wire, you're making more work, I think, than maybe it's worth. Maybe it's worth it to you, I don't know. I'm still just zigzagging the wire on, and what I do, I wish I'd brought it. I take a piece of wire and I take a small pair of pliers and just loop it back on itself on the end. And then when I sew it on, I put it up near the edge of my fabric where it's going to be in the outside of the stitching line. Okay, in the end of it. I line up the wire right in the center of the presser foot, and then I stitch on down to the other end, and again I go back and forth and I kind of wiggle the fabric a little and get it to go down in that loop. That's going to hold it on without having to sew a channel. What else? On the ties, I think I told you to cut 1-inch strips of fabric and stitch it and then turn it right side out, and everybody told me that's not the way to do it, so I got blisters on my fingers that way, so I did it differently. And what I'm doing is basically making my own bias tape, except I'm not cutting it on the bias because I'm way too lazy. So cut your long strip of fabric and press it with your iron, fold it in half and press it down the middle. Okay, then fold each of those ends inward and press it again. Then fold it on the half, so you're sandwiching the layers inside of one another. And I believe I better put up a picture. But anyway, when you're done, it looks like a piece of double fold bias tape. And then you just stitch that for your straps. Now let's see if I have one here. No, I don't. I was doing the 4 straps. I showed you those. You could do this one has elastic, or you could do 4 tie straps. Either one is fine, but I've sort of altered my pattern. I've done a hodgepodgey pattern of several people's. I guess that's what most of us do. So this was the original red poppy pattern. 2 kinds of fabric, back to back, stitch it down, put the elastic on. I must have strange ears. The elastic will not stay on my ear. So this was a problem. So I started doing the, the 4 single straps. I figure if it won't work for me, it might not work for somebody else. And a lot of these I'm mailing because my family's all away. So here's what I'm doing instead. You've seen the Olsen pattern, which is the pattern that is made for medical professionals. This is kind of in between the Olsen and the poppy. I kept the poppy shape, and I took the Olsen. Here's an Olsen. They do 3 different fabrics. This one's going to someone's daddy who's real sick. And the Olsen one, you can change the filter. Okay, I don't really want people to change the filter because I'm afraid people like you and me just wouldn't do it. So I'm sewing the pellon inside, and I'm not bothering with those extra layers, but I am making the channels for the strap. And so this one, for example, will go on like this. And then you tighten this strap on each side and pull it around and tie it. So I think that is the most versatile. It also is time consuming. That's okay. They don't take that long to make anyway. I'm still putting the wire in the top. And I guess that's all. If you have any questions, people used to say on videos, oh, this was requested, and I would think, I don't see it anywhere. Now I get to eat crow because I understand. People have messaged me on Facebook and on my phone and everywhere else. So if you have any more questions, throw them at me and I'll come back and say requested video. I hope everybody's doing well. Thanks for listening.